Star Wars Outlaws has finally revealed some gameplay, and we've partnered with Ubisoft to bring you all the juicy details. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into a galaxy far, far away. Now, of course, you can go watch the gameplay revealed at Ubisoft Forward. In fact, I recommend you do so because nothing replaces raw, uncut gameplay. But sometimes a little analysis goes a long way, and with a game like Star Wars Outlaws, you need to be looking at all the little details, from the most grandiose visuals to the most minuscule systems. First on our list of things to talk about is combat, because if the action isn't right, then no matter how good the rest of the game is, the entire experience will fall flat. We've always known that Kay Vess, the main character, was going to have a different type of kit. She's not a Jedi, and this preview really shows us what she brings to the table. When the lasers start flying, we see that Kay can use her blaster pistol in multiple ways. It's got a standard semi-automatic mode, which can be lethal, but the weapon will overheat as indicated by this UI element slightly to the right of center screen. Kay can also toggle an alternate fire mode that deals damage to shields, negating the defenses of various troopers. This mode can also temporarily stun enemies, which allows Kay to dispatch troopers with a melee takedown. She also has access to a one-shot ability. When used, it completely takes an enemy off the board, but it does have a long cooldown. Surprisingly, Kay can also slow down time and mark multiple targets. After painting various threats, Kay lets loose a volley of lasers, killing all enemies in one fell swoop. This is definitely the most potent attack in her arsenal, and I'm willing to bet it gets even better once upgraded. Kay is only one half of the coin, and it's pretty clear that Nix is just as important. The adorable alien is far more than a companion, and this gameplay showcases how integral he really is. We saw Nix used in so many different scenarios. For starters, Kay can have Nix attack troopers. This is more of a loud distraction than anything else, but when there are multiple enemies, it's useful to have Nix tie up one foe while you take down the other. Nix can also be sent to a specific location to draw an enemy's attention. We can see this in combination with Kay stealthily sneaking up for a silent takedown. Nix can also steal items, which we'll talk about more in a bit. Opening doors, well, that's another thing that Nix can do, simple enough. A more interesting perk of having an alien as a sidekick is that Nix can set traps within the environment. In one clip, we see him cause an explosive canister to start leaking. One shot from Kay's blaster, and boom goes the trooper. Finally, Nix can pick up weapons that are scattered around the arena. With a quick command, Nix can pick up weapons and bring them back to Kay. These battlefield weapons do have limited ammunition, but having that firepower on demand is going to be a huge perk. One thing you knew was coming with a Star Wars RPG was some sort of lockpicking and hacking systems. We got to look at both in the new gameplay. When it comes to computer terminals, you can expect a game of Mastermind where you select 3 glyphs. The correct glyph in the correct slot locks in, while the wrong glyphs in the wrong slot clear out. If you can find the right sequence of glyphs, the terminal unlocks, and you have access to the contents within. As far as opening doors and using a data spike, well, this seems to be a simple timing minigame. With the spike inserted in the terminal, you'll have to watch carefully as the lock spins, clicking or locking in as the game calls it, whenever the light on the right flashes. I don't know how much deeper these two systems will go, but I do really hope there's some variation throughout the game. I like the minigame approach, but over the course of a long open world RPG, you'd hope to see some variants to keep things fresh. I'm going to keep this next one short and simple because it's something we always end up talking about with every space game that releases, going from outer space to the planet's surface. The good news is that Kay can maneuver the Trailblazer, the name of her ship, from outer space to a planet's surface seamlessly. Well, kind of. The game never takes you out of the action by slapping a load screen in your face, which I think everyone will appreciate, but you can tell behind the scenes there are things happening to create that transition. First, you need to select a landing area on the planet you're approaching. A menu pops up on the left side of your screen to present you with those options. Once you lock in your choice, the ship begins to course correct and descend towards the planet. As your ship moves through the atmosphere, thick clouds obscure your vision, but you never lose sight or control of your ship. A few seconds later, you'll break through the clouds. Your UI will disappear and you'll cinematically land at port. It's a great looking experience, far superior to load screens breaking up the immersion, but we have still yet to see how things go in reverse, from the planet into outer space, which we should all just keep in mind. Speaking of space, how about some dogfighting? I am happy to say I really like the way this action is shaping up, which is more on the arcadey side of things. If you look at the space combat, you can see a lot of similarities to the dogfighting in Star Wars Battlefront 2. You have a lot of great control over your ship from both a maneuverability and targeting perspective. When using Pursuit Mode, you get that classic lead tracker that helps you target enemies with your blasters. However, this is on a timer, which means you can't stay in the mode indefinitely. Your main blasters can also overheat, as indicated by the UI element at the center of your screen. The UI surrounding the ship also shows that we'll have to manage some other systems like shields, hull integrity, and a boost, and then a smattering of auxiliary systems. In the clips we saw, the player activates an auto turret which fires blaster shots at a nearby target. There's also a lock-on missile system that fires a guided rocket once you acquire said target. Based on the UI elements at the bottom of the screen, it looks like we'll also have the ability to repair our ship. There's also some sort of radar system that we can tap into by pressing the right thumbstick. I'm genuinely excited about this aspect of the game, and as long as it's sporadic, I think it'll break up the other action nicely. A system first revealed during the initial showing of Star Wars Outlaws, we now know more about how the Wanted system will function within the game. There's still a few unknowns here, but at the tail end of our dogfighting, you can see the imperial symbol in the top left of our screen. This is our notoriety, or whatever they're calling this system. Each illuminated bar on the outside rim indicates our wanted level, and thanks to an interview with Entertainment Weekly, we know that there are 6 levels to this system. At level 1, Imperial grunts will start tracking you down, but as your wanted level rises, so do the threats. We know that at the upper end of the scale we'll encounter Death Troopers, but the developers did leave the door open for even more surprises. Perhaps a famous bounty hunter might come track us down, who knows? Either way, if you do the crime, you will certainly do the time, but there will be ways to clear your wanted status. In the case of this preview, we saw the Trailblazer hack an Imperial comms array out in space, clearing the status entirely, but I have to imagine there will also be ways to do this planet-side. One thing I hope really works well for the entire Star Wars Outlaws experience is exploration. For the first time, we're not some all-powerful Force user, and that means we have to make use of practical ways to navigate around the worlds. Kay has a solid kit, but she's only human, and she has to rely on a lot of technology to help her get around. This was on full display when exploring the derelict ship, the Castellan. On multiple occasions, we see Kay rappel down various anchor points, allowing her to quickly descend safely. We also see her use her grappling hook to swing across various gaps. There's no double jump force dashing anywhere to be found. We also saw some pretty standard wall climbing. There was an interesting moment where some of the environmental elements opened and closed, giving Kay a limited window to navigate the puzzle, but it's more or less what you'd expect. We did also get a glimpse at a dodge roll during one of the combat sequences, something we assumed is there, but you never really know until you see it firsthand. Throughout the journey, you'll also need to tackle some simple environmental puzzles. On more than one occasion, we saw Kay use her alternate blaster fire to shock various points in the world, shorting a nearby door, granting her access to a new area. Utilizing Nyx's sensibility makes finding these pretty easy, but that only goes to show how versatile Nyx is as a companion across the board. Stealth is clearly going to be a huge part of the Star Wars Outlaws experience, and while we touched on both Kay and Nyx's kit, I wanted to look at stealth more big picture. It's clear Ubisoft isn't straying too far from its roots, and you can see elements of their other games in Outlaws. One of the missions we got to preview has Kay and Nyx infiltrate a Crimson Dawn compound. Throughout the mission, we see the true versatility of the duo. One thing I really like is that Kay's ability to sense danger comes from Nyx, and it's not the X-ray vision that some Ubisoft games give the player. This feels less than that, and I mean that in a good way because it challenges the player to really observe their surroundings and make decisions accordingly. Kay, much like in Assassin's Creed, also has the ability to whistle from cover, distracting guards, which then sets them up for a takedown. I'll admit some of the takedowns in the game are a bit unbelievable, like would someone truly be knocked out with one blow from the side of a pistol? I'm not really sure, but we do know things are still work in progress, so hopefully the animations tighten up. What's clear is that stealth gameplay is about using Nyx as much as possible. In one clip, he outright steals a quest item from an enemy in the middle of a room, which expedites the mission. We also see that when he senses enemies, some basic information populates the corner of the screen. You can see the words poor at one point, which might indicate how many credits you'll get if you steal from them. Ultimately, stealth is here to stay, and I think it's going to be a huge part of the Star Wars Outlaws experience. I'm going to keep this next point brief because we don't have a ton of information and visuals to back it up yet, but we hear throughout various gameplay clips references to the various Star Wars clans. At this point, the 4 major clans have been confirmed within the game: the Hutt Cartel, the Pike Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn, and the Ashiga clan. We now know that doing quests for one faction will increase your standing with them while decreasing your standing with the others. This is important to keep in mind because each faction will have different rewards. What those are, we don't know yet, but we do know that making any other faction mad might cause them to send their own soldiers after you. It's a win-lose situation, and remember, any criminal action you take could also trigger your wanted status, which is another layer on top of everything else going on. I can't wait to learn more about the factions and their rewards, and while we did get a small glimpse at the Ashiga in the new footage, it's still very much a mystery how all of the parts will come together to form the full experience. So there you have it, a ton of new information about Star Wars Outlaws. I, for one, am really excited about this game. I think the gameplay looks really promising, and while the individual systems don't blow me away, they're all solid, and from the environments to the action and everything in between, I've been largely impressed by what I've seen. Star Wars Outlaws launches on August 30th, and I'd expect a few more reveals from Ubisoft before the big day, so if you're excited about this game and you want to learn more as new information drops, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.